Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to offer your elemental energy reading for the month of March. This is your bonus reading, and it's for the elemental energy of fire. So if you are Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, or have fire high up in your chart, then this message is for you. I am just shuffling the cards right now. I've got a small desk, so I have to do this carefully. Otherwise, it makes a big mess. And if you've never had your charts read, there is a link in the description. It's more of a handy tool you can use. It's not sponsored or anything like that, but it's a natal chart, and it gives you your base 12 houses with all of the signs and symbols, and then there's 10 to 20 pages of a description of what all that means, because there's a lot there. And if you're interested in the decks that I'm using, I've linked those as well if you're curious about them. We're almost there. So how I like to do these readings is we will look at a basic Celtic cross with a couple of alterations that I prefer to use, and then we'll pull some oracle cards at the end. If you see, sense, or feel something different from the cards, because I will be holding them up so you can see them, feel free to comment and let me know. It's always interesting to hear what other people's intuitive guidance is, because that's how I read. With that, like, comment, and subscribe, all those fun things, and we'll get started here. So fire. This is your significator. This is who you are as a snapshot in time. We have the Five of Pentacles. A little mysterious going on, huh? There is this energy of the unknown, but you, the dragon here in the center, are the one guiding this. You may not see the end game. There might feel like you're going through some, maybe not the best of times, we'll put it that way, because the fives don't usually look so great in the minor arcana. But what this is really saying is you're the one who's leading. You're leading with confidence, even if you're not sure where you're going. You're putting on the facade of, nope, I got this, we know what we're doing. And the universe is actually in alignment with you because you are tapped into a higher energy. You do have some air flying up here saying, nope, fire, you've got this, let's keep going the right direction, things are going the right way. So in the moment, you're actually looking pretty good. You may not know the end game. That's the one aspect to that card that I'm getting. You don't know where you're going. Source does, you don't. So you do feel like you're kind of lost and you're leading the blind, but you're following your inner guidance, and that is what's going to lead you into the best outcome. We'll see how this plays out. The energy that's crossing you, so this is a challenge or something to be aware of, is the Six of Pentacles. Sharing is usually a good thing. In this particular situation, you want to be careful who you're sharing with. You don't want to share personal details with someone who's just going to spread and gossip. You're not going to want to open yourself up to being stabbed in the back, is kind of what I'm getting here. So fire, be vigilant with who you open up to this month. This is not a month where you want to just go, being chatty with everybody and tell everyone at the water cooler all the details. Maybe skip the water cooler this month, because your challenge is, normally sharing is a good thing, but this challenge is really saying this is not the time you want to be sharing personal stuff. You want to keep that on the down low this month. So if you have those, those one or two people that you're really close with, that's different. But you definitely don't want to just go blabbing to everyone. We'll probably get a little more details about that, but your crossing energy is really saying, just be careful who you talk to this month as far as sharing things. Your higher self, again with the mysterious, which is interesting, is the Eight of Cups. Again, you're walking through that misty forest. Your higher self is wanting to bring in, you are way more successful than you realize. It's just not going to be manifested in the outside world just yet. It's still kind of tossed up into the ether, the vortex, if you listen to Abraham Hicks. So you're getting things starting to fall into place, but your higher self is saying, don't worry, you're not lost, you're just maybe not seeing things clearly just yet. Why? Because things have to finish lining up for where you want to be. You're gonna get there, it's just your timing is just not quite set yet, and that's the energy I'm getting with your higher self. Your shadow, on the other hand, is The Ten of Swords. So this is a Ten of Air. You have a lot of interesting energy going on here. With your shadow, it's saying that you've conquered, you overcome, but for some reason you don't want to acknowledge how far you've grown beyond where you were. You've had to slay your demons to achieve where you're at. You've had to overcome great struggles to get to this point. And Fire, I'm hearing this. Why do you not want to admit that you've had to deal with this stuff? Why are you trying to hide from it, is what they're showing me. It's not like this was a bad thing. You had to deal with it. It was just what was necessary. It was the next obvious step. But with this card, it's saying that you almost don't want to, because this is your shadow, so it's something you've repressed. You almost don't want to acknowledge that you went through this part of your life. And what your shadow's doing is, listen, bud, this is something that is a part of you. You need to acknowledge that you have this warrior inside of you, and it's going to be quieter. It's going to settle down, being like, yes, I have my place now. You acknowledge that I am here, so let's move forward from this. Because if you don't acknowledge that you do have that warring aspect to yourself, because Fire has that naturally anyway, this card is saying you're going to have a little bit of an internal rebellion. So you want to make sure that you're ready to, that you can go to battle when you need to, but you don't have to. And with the energies that you've got going on as your central column here, because you have your higher self, success, Eight of Cups, things may not be seen in the physical yet, but the success is guaranteed type stuff. And in the moment, you're the one leading the charge, again, through the misty moors. You don't know where you're headed, but you're following your intuition. Your shadow is saying, why are you trying to deny the part of yourself? Your shadows actually could reveal these next other two steps with a little more ease, but you're the one who has to make that decision to acknowledge it. You don't have to bring it out into the open. That's not what they're saying. You have to acknowledge that you do have this warrior within, because you've already used this energy. You've conquered things before, and now it's time to stand in that authority. It doesn't mean you have to brag about it or to tell anyone else about it. According to your crossing card, don't tell anyone. But acknowledging it to yourself and allowing that energy to integrate back in, so that if you need it, it's there. That's really what they're wanting to make sure you know. Your immediate history, the last 1 month, 6 months, or a year, is the Sire of Pentacles. You were in an energy of training, or you were being trained. I'm really feeling that you're the one that was doing the training here. And that's allowed you to become more aware of who you are, but this is also where you kind of pushed down that warrior part, because you were trying to be the teacher. You wanted to be the leader, but you wanted to do it from a place of peace and wisdom and grace, which is awesome. But that doesn't mean that you shove the warrior down. And that's where you have your shields, and the dragon is saying, remember how you got to this teaching position. Remember how you got to the mentor. Remember how you achieved this. Your immediate history says you have already guided others to their higher perspectives, because they could see it, even if you didn't want to acknowledge it, that there was this warrior energy in there. So be open to understanding that for yourself. Again, I'm not hearing projecting it to everybody, but don't be afraid to acknowledge that, yes, there's times we have to be more aggressive. There's times where that warrior has to step forward, because the warrior is part of who you are, Fire. I'm getting that very loudly. And like I said, with your shadow, it's like you don't want to acknowledge it. You're trying to push it back because you're not ready for it. But your shadow's like, dude, you already used this energy. Why are you scared of it? So your immediate future, the next 1 month, 6 months, or a year, is number 8 with the Strength card. Again, bringing forward that warrior aspect. The future is actually going to be they're showing me this image of like knights or Vikings in Valhalla, where during the days you're fighting and carrying on and you're just having a blast at it, and then your knights are more amorous in nature. And that's the energy I'm getting with the Strength card. But this is also showing that you have the ability to conquer anything. You have the ability to overcome situations, no matter how wild they may come across. You can tame the beast, because you already have. That's what your shadow wants to remind you of. Your future, you're using that tamed shadow. You're using those tamed warrior aspects. They're now in control. They don't dominate you. You are the one who's in control. And that's what they're wanting to bring forward with this energy, is your future is going to be revealing more about how, by the control that you have over that shadow aspect, you're going to be able to even go further than you thought you could in the beginning. So you may not see a clear path right now. Your higher self is saying, you've got all this stuff prepped, ready to go, for when the path clears, you're going to be able to move quickly. And that's where that strength card is saying, because you've conquered and you understand, you're willing to accept and embrace your inner warrior. That's going to give you the strength to really get to rocking and rolling going forward here. So let's take a peek at your inner attitude. That's interesting. So this is the stuff that's inside you, the stuff within your control. We have number 2, the High Priestess. This is really interesting because it's calling you to balance beauty and severity, charity with war. This is your call to come to terms with both sides of your personality. And fire, you're not known to be, dual. You're not a Gemini, you're not a Pisces. That's not what your nature. You're not a dual energy. But what you are in this aspect is you don't want to over exalt one side of yourself. You don't want to be too much war. You don't want to be too much peace. You want to find your balance. And the High Priestess is really saying you have this ability to connect, to deepen this reality, to embrace both sides, come into balance. And by doing so, good luck, prosperity, enlightenment, all the fun key words that come with the High Priestess. But it's because you come to an awareness of who you are. You balance the emotional, the mental, and the physical. And this is not an easy task by any stretch. But this is your inner world. This is where you're feeling a little bit out of balance is what I'm getting here. So this is a time to really get clear on what are the two sides of where you're at. Where are they at? Are they out of balance? What needs to be adjusted? How do you bring this more into focus? When you do, you're going to start to notice that strength aspect kicks up big time. In the best way, obviously, because your strength card's your future. It's looking good. But where you're at right now in the mental state, you're feeling a little bit out of balance. So find what needs to be adjusted to readdress that. Your outside influences, the environment you're around, the things outside of your control, that's interesting, is number 17, the Star. This is really saying what's influencing you right now is so far outside of your control you can't even reach it. The things that are outside of your control are really out there, but they are not outside of the influence of you. You can look at this as stellar constellations if you're someone who follows the zodiac really closely, or as in astrology, planets, movements, all that stuff do affect us. And fire, you might be feeling that a little bit heavier than normal. There's a retrograde currently when this video is being recorded. There is a Saturn is now in Aries. You've got all this different energy going on, and it might be throwing you off just a little bit because you are fire. So having this intensity of that stern father figure stepping in could be triggering a little bit of this off balance. But the influence, your environment, you're aware of it, and this is saying embrace the shift, because by embracing that which you don't control, you start to integrate it more in. You understand it better. Not going to be an easy month. I'm not getting that vibe, but there's a lesson here of growth, understanding that just because I can't control it doesn't mean I can't use it. So see how that plays out for fire. It's going to be that part will be interesting. And if you feel comfortable, let me know in the comments. Your hopes and fears. Don't want to start new things, do we? Your hopes and fears is the Ace of Cups. So the fear that I get with this is your fear of emotions, your fear of this new way of existing, being open to that warrior aspect that is for some reason being driven down within you. being afraid of letting that come forward. This is a new beginning card, and it works with emotions, relationships, all of that fun jazz because it's water energy. But the hope with this is that this new experience, this new understanding, can begin a new path for who you are. Your immediate future is strength. Your immediate future is mastery over that warrior aspect that you need to go forward with. And so the Ace of Cups, as your hopes and fears, you're almost afraid to acknowledge your shadow, this Ten of Swords energy, this destructive, chaotic mess. But the hope is, by embracing it, by understanding it, and allowing it to integrate back into your life, you actually begin a new version of who you are, because you're coming into control of the light and dark within you. And when they come into balance, then new things are birthed. So your fear is losing yourself to the warrior, to that aspect, that shadow. But the hope is, by integrating it and bringing it in, you reset the balance and you step into that next part of existence. Your overall outcome here is the Five of Swords. Conquering the ego is the successful integration of the warrior. The ego is what you're worried about. That's what that fear aspect that comes in with the Ace of Cups. The Five of Swords, Five of Air, knowledge, intellect, reason. When you step into this energy, you are conquering the ego. When the ego's out of way, the warrior can be the righteous aspect without greed, without bloodthirst, without that aggression, because the warrior is a defender as well. So your outcome of this reading is, when you get clear and find that balance and allow yourself to bring out of the shadow the warrior, because that's what's being pushed forward right now. When you integrate that back in, the strength that you basically remember who you were, it allows you to move forward. It clears the cobwebs, but you have to make sure that the ego has been banished, that it has been leashed, that it has been brought into check. Because if the ego is still dominant, when the warrior steps up, that's when that fiery Aries that doesn't know how to control itself flares up. And that's what this is giving you the heads up. It's time to bring the two parts of you back into one. No more separation. Be the whole version of who you are. And I'm using the warrior because that's what they keep showing me. It could be a different form, a different aspect of yourself that you've been trying to shove back, but there's a balance that's being called out here. So allow yourself to check in with this balance and really get clear on it. There's an underlying theme here of the Page of Cups. This is an illusionary energy. You've put up this image of who you think you are, but you're missing the forest for the trees is kind of the energy I'm getting here. So this is a time where acknowledging what's there, who you are at that core, that, like I said, the warrior that they keep showing me with the shadow, it could be another aspect of self. But don't allow the illusion, the egoic illusion, to dominate. Rein it in, catch that thing, bring it back into alignment, because the ego is just a tool. That's all it is. So when you check it and you say, enough's enough, we're not doing that anymore, it allows you to embrace more wholly who you were and who you are. And that's tricky, because when you... So before we get into the oracle, I'm getting messages. Before you allow yourself to step into this, you have to be able to embrace the core of what you are. There are things that you have put into the shadow. One of them is this warrior aspect, this more confrontational, more aggressive person. And you don't want to deal with that because you feel like that's wrong. You feel like that's bad. And it can be if it's allowed to run with the ego. Your outcome is saying, get the ego in check. This no longer is a fear. When you get the ego in check... Oops, I just threw the card on the floor. When you get the ego in check, this strictly becomes hope. There's no more fear. So you want to play this in a way that is the most spiritually available to you. And remember, the outside influences are the star. The outside influences in this aspect, in this season for fire, is that Saturn in Aries. Saturn is the stern father figure. He's stern because he wants you to stand up, to be counted. This is not sexist, but be a man. Be in your power. And that's what Saturn is bringing up with this as your environment is, it's enough as enough. The reason you feel in this moment confused, lost, you're not sure what direction, everyone's following you because they see that you know the way. You're the one with the blinders on. The reason that you're having that is because Saturn is really heavily leaning on you to be the best version of yourself, and that requires bringing your two aspects into balance again. Break the illusion that you're not good enough. Break the illusion that you don't know enough. Break the illusion that it doesn't matter, or someone's going to be offended by it. Who cares? I'm not saying that to be rude. Who cares? You being a whole person again is more important than someone's fifis. So we'll just say that real quick. When Saturn energy comes in, it gets a little intense. But that's one of the influences that's coming in for Aries right now, or for fire, is Saturn. You're not going to be... This isn't a time for tap dancing. This is not a time for... I'm just going to be a little coy over here. That's not Saturn energy. And Saturn is pretty dominant right now. So, fire... Check in with yourself and see what's out of balance, because that's where your shadow is calling you to look at. When you figure out what's out of balance and you fix that, you address that, you embrace that with your ego in check, things change. So let's look at your oracle, and if you want to ask a question, you can push pause here before we start looking at the cards. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and move forward, and with each card we'll see if it fits in with the reading or if it's just other information that Source wants to bring in, which, the way things have been going today, it could be either. So your first oracle card is number 54, and tools. You actually have all the tools you need, you just don't realize it yet. And when I say tools, this could be friends, that inner circle, that 3 to 5 people who are the closest ones to you and give you the best advice even when you don't want to hear it. It could be a counselor, it could be a therapist, it could be your spouse, it could be your kids, heck, it could be your dog. But the tools are available to you. Everything that you need for this month to be successful, you already have. Source wants you to understand that. It's not something new that needs to be brought in. It's not something new you have to go purchase. It's not something new that you have to acquire. That's ego talk. You already have it. You could see this energy also as like the magician. You have the mastery of the basics. So what's to stop you moving forward? You have the tools at hand. What's to stop you from building the next big thing? Which the next big thing is you, fire. So your second oracle card is number 40, confide, where your crossing card was saying don't share with everybody. You do need the people you can confide in and trust. That's at 3 to 5 people who know your heart, know your soul. Could be a partner, could be just friends. But those are the ones that you are comfortable with confiding in because they know your secrets. They also know you better than you do. And sometimes they'll repeat stuff. Sometimes they'll say stuff where you're like, you're being rude. No, they're being truthful and you're not listening. So when you have those people you can confide in, you can tell your secrets, you can tell your worries. This is the person or people that you can be vulnerable with. And that allows you to embrace the fullness of who you are. Because when you are allowed to reveal the more tender parts of who you are, it allows you to see, actually, I need to bring that back up. I need to re-embrace that. Your inner child might need a little hug or a big hug. You need to understand there's a warrior and a child within. There's a lover and a fighter. There's the masculine and the feminine. And when we accept that we all have this, and sometimes you have to do that through conversation, because getting it out of your head sometimes helps. And that's why you want to make sure you're confiding with the right person. You don't want to just go blabbing to everybody. So Hey, fire, you're gonna like this one. Your last oracle card is number 44, good angel number. Vacation. Take a break, fire. If something is really stressing you out this month, if things are just really out of whack and things are not going well, take a break. Call in sick for a mental health day if you need to. Do something that allows you to embrace the deeper part of who you are. Take a vacation from, I have this illusion of who I am, and allow yourself just to be. Allow yourself to reveal the depth of who you are. This month is really calling you to embrace the parts of yourself that you have pushed down because you think someone else might judge you for them. And they might, and that's their problem, not yours. And allow yourself to embrace the strength that you have earned. You weren't given this. You earned your strength, fire. Your immediate future is saying, when you've embraced this and you understand that you've mastered this part of yourself, this shadow aspect, you've earned that. So integrate it, bring it back together, become a more whole person. It's an ongoing course. Don't think that this is a one-time thing because we're human. We have a lot we have to work through. So, but this month is really saying get clear on where you're going, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions. Even if you're not sure, get an idea of where they're headed. You're not supposed to see the forest for the trees, is what I'm getting here. Embrace the parts of yourself that you may have repressed. Whatever comes forward first is the one you should think about, because that's when your shadow's like, okay, you ready for this one? And it hands it off. And allow yourself the gift of the right people around you, the tools, the confiding, and take a break. You don't have to be the one who's always the strongest and most, that's a fire thing, don't get me wrong. But sometimes even fire needs to bank itself and settle for a little bit. So with that, I will let you guys and gals go. I hope you have a great month of March. It looks like you're going to. Could be a little ups and downs there for a second. And a lot of inner work is what I'm seeing here too. So with that, have a great month of March. I will see you in the next video.